freaking out. It's like, what is he doing?
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Fireside Chat with Mimi. My name is Abhinav, and our guest today, Nate. The podcast doc.
What's
Welcome,
up, guys?
everybody.
What's up? What's up?
Nate is doing his 5th interview today, so
Crazy. You guys have no idea how much work.
he's crushing it.
Literally.
So in today's episode, we will be discovering and talking about podcasting as a medium of publishing online. Since we happen to chose that medium as the first place to be published online.
Yes.
And the second subject that we'll be touching on will be entrepreneurship. And I do have some questions that people have sent me over last week, and we'll be trying to answer those questions and tag them in the comments. So if you are watching this right now or watching the replay, feel free to DM me through whatever platform that you are seeing this right now with your questions in regards to publishing online and entrepreneurship. It can be mindset, it can be business ideas, anything that we can help you and provide you value with.
Speaking of publishing online, I think it's worth spending 30 seconds on getting feedback from Nate on how do you feel after recording 5 consecutive episodes back to back. That's insane.
I'd say just keep a 32-ounce bottle of water next to you.
I thought you were about to do a plug for Gatorade.
Oh, no.
Not sponsored.
We're not sponsored, so
No
we can't do
sponsorship
that.
yet.
No sponsorship yet. But yeah, I mean, it's just I'm on a mission to basically prove that you can knock out a year of content in a matter of 60 business days, you know?
Yes.
So
Also, you're like on the sprint or something?
He's trying to prove it out.
basically, I'm trying to prove basically that, you know, people like complain that like they can't publish and they can't create content. And I'm like, look, I'm doing it in 60 business days.
Yeah.
If you cannot do it, then I'm sorry, this is probably not for you.
Yeah.
Damn,
Definitely.
harsh truth.
Well, he's making it happen, making a case study for it, and then other people have no excuses. It's just effort and consistency at the end of the day.
Curious
Yep.
to know, are you batching your content or you recording and publishing right away?
No, I'm batching.
Yeah,
I'm
you-
batching. Like,
Yeah,
like guys, I'm on episode 20, but I'm on episode 40.
he's 20 episodes.
Recorded.
Wow.
See, you're doing it right, dude.
Doing it
You're
smart.
killing it. This is incredible.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
can you share about your publishing online with the different medium that you have been recently exploring?
Yeah, so recently I've actually deviated a little bit from podcasting, but not so far. So a lot of this is going to get published onto my podcast. I've really kind of rethought about what I'm thinking about podcasting in general. They're very like structured interview type of things before, but now I'm opening the floodgates to be very wide. And so what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 days is I've been really deep in TikTok. I've been talking to 23, 13-year-old kids and 23-year-old kids all throughout that demographic about, you know, anxiety, mental health, physical health, meditation, spirituality. And you'd be surprised, the popular topic right now is young kids that are smoking weed and don't know how to get their life together, and they're asking me questions. It's insane. Like, I've gotten hundreds of questions in the last 4 or 5 days, and I've literally responded to everyone that I can with a video. And so my goal is to actually start stripping that value prop and putting that into a audio, you know, for podcasting, because why not?
Yep.
Right? People want to get the value on the go, and we're going to find a way to give it to them. So a little different than my usual, and I think I actually really like it because it's very contextual, and I'm talking to someone, where in podcasting you're really only talking to your guest if you have one, and you're hoping the rest of the audience kind of just like plays along, right? But here it's like very targeted, and more people tend to find like, oh, that was helpful for me, so I like this, or I want to ask a further question. So it's kind of like it's a interesting spiraling effect that I'm discovering right now.
Yeah, but I think the main idea here is to empower or inspire anyone who is watching is that you can publish online. You just have to choose your medium
Yeah.
and pick the rhythm that you can do it with, right? And always test, because Abhinav and I, we started Abhinav earlier. He started with doing live podcasting, which going to actually be throwback at his podcast now.
Yeah, those are all launching as audio episodes.
Yeah, because why not? And now
it's
he's
content.
testing out water with the TikTok, right? So there's always room for growth. So for all the people that thinking, oh, I cannot publish online, I cannot do it, Nate is doing his sprint in 60 days of recording podcasts. So that's a case study of proof to you that you can do it as well. There's also other ways of publishing. If you don't like to talk to the microphone, you can type, you can do blogging. There's so many ways, so it should not be an excuse of not publishing online.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight, since we are here all podcasters, that why we've talked about why you choose podcasting last time, but I want to hear from Nate, like, why did you choose podcast as a medium to publish online? Like, why not blogging or YouTube channel for you specifically?
I like talking to people. Honestly, guys, like we'll get into it with entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very lonely. So, you know, the fact that I get to talk to people and different people from all walks of life and get to hear their stories, and, you know, also hear about them writing books, hear about them creating content on YouTube, on TikTok, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, you know, all these places. It's kind of cool just because I get to pick their brain, and if there's something that I actually want to learn about, I just ask that question, and then I get to learn it.
Yeah, it's like a
ask, and you will get the answer.
Yeah, and you get to ask specific person in the industry that they are good at, right? So you don't just search randomly online. That's really, you know, the point of all of this.
Contextual.
Yeah.
And then one last thing about podcasting is just because, so when you're podcasting, just like I have these headphones in my ears, is it's very personal. Like if you're listening to a podcast, you are literally taking the time and kind of zoning into whatever they're saying, and it's direct, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, I think already covered enough, like why you should be publishing online and why it's possible. But I also want to make sure that whoever is listening get this message across, is why we three of us are talking about publishing online, because it's important to build your personal brand. And also, we live in the world right now where everybody's spending time online. So you need to find a way of building yourself online and building that presence where you can eventually gather the community around you. And I encourage everybody, choose the medium that you are good at. Like, it does not have to be LinkedIn Live. It does not have to be podcasting. Like we already mentioned, it can be TikTok, which is a social media platform, or it can be blogging or Medium, or just writing articles or posting on the like Reddit or Quora, like by answering questions, right?
There's many ways.
But choose the medium that you feel most comfortable with, be aware, like self-aware, and then dive into it so that you can create the presence in that industry.
I would add just one thing, and I think Nate would probably agree. If you are confused and you're like, I have so many potential options, I don't know which one I should do, just do one podcast.
Just do one.
Just do one. Put it out there, and then if you don't ever do another one, you know what what it's like. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself the opportunity to taste that whole thing. And that's what, all of us here are testament to that. We've tasted lots of different things, and now we're starting to narrow down on the things that we really like doing, and we're going to do more and more of those.
Yeah, that's actually lead to the next one of the questions that I got a couple of weeks ago from Jenny on Instagram. She asked in one of my comment section, how do I start a small business? So I would actually lead it back now to, it's broad, but then if you think about, if you want to start an online business, or even any business, you need to have an audience. You need to have community. You need to have people that know you and know about your product first.
Yeah.
And then you ask them, what do they want? And then you go and serve them with whatever that they need. But you need to gather the intel and the crowd, in a way, like audience, to survey them first. So I think that would be, in my way of thinking, in the digital world that we're living right now, that's where you would start. You start by picking the medium, posting online, making your presence, gather the community, and then ask, like, how can I be at value, or how can I help you, or what do you need?
Yeah, literally, that's a good
That's my
approach.
answer to how to start a small business online.
I'll build on what you said. Okay. So I think part of starting a business online is, if you are like tech savvy, that's a huge plus. But if you aren't, it's worthwhile getting familiar with. A lot of the framework has already been put out. Like building a website these days is not that difficult, right? You can do that yourself. You can talk about publishing through all these different platforms. That's all available to you now. It's much easier. The part that is probably most difficult for a new business is like, well, what kind of content should I create to attract the potential audience who would be interested in buying my product, right? That's kind of like where people kind of get confused, including us for a long time. There's a were you going to say something, Nate?
Yeah, so I have a great answer for that, is go directly to that person, whoever it is that is your target audience. Ask them 5 calculated questions that you want to learn. And then you're trying to basically find their pain points. And then honestly, guys, this is also selling. Basically, is you're trying to figure out someone's pain point, and then you just wrap up that pain point with the solution that you have, and make sure it is the solution that they're looking for. Don't just say like, this is gonna fix whatever, and it doesn't. Right. Don't be that person. Don't lie. Be that, yeah.
Don't lie to your potential customer.
Yeah, because then they're gonna speak out about it,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have a bad reputation. But yeah, so bundling that up, all those pain points, giving them a solution, and it's like, here's this gift.
Right. Yeah, and I think just to complete that thought, I think from my perspective, it's different to build a community versus finding an audience just to sell to. There's overlap between the two, but when you're trying to build community, you're really trying to serve people without expectation that they're going to buy from you. If the hidden agenda is like, I only want to help you if you buy from me, it's probably not going to work very well. And I think, we've both kind of crossed that bridge several times, and we've been still navigating through it. And, going back to earlier when I was saying with TikTok, like, I don't expect these 13-year-old kids to want to like buy anything from me at this point in time at all. But I do think that, when they're 23 in 10 years and they stuck with me and I'm, putting out something, I do think that they're going to want to buy from me because I've built 10 years worth of value with them.
They would naturally ask you though, right? Like if you provide really good value naturally, people would just ask you, and opportunity will come. And that's why publishing online is such an interesting,
it's a long tail effect
place to be, because you don't know what opportunities come, like what opportunity will come though. Like you really don't know.
I'll give you an instance or an example of a client that had a win this past month, right? This person was producing a podcast for 6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Someone that was listening to him for 6 years finally bought their program.
Wow. See, that's it.
6 years to finally buy that program.
Yeah.
Right? And that podcast is for free. They're getting this value for free. But they were finally ready to get to that next stage. And they're like, hey, you've been helping me for 6 years.
Right.
And now I'm ready for this next stage. How can we work together?
100%.
Yeah, and I think it works with the like enterprise business as well, like in terms of marketing. Like they have their marketing strategy by giving, like free downloads, PDF, or like workshops on things like that. So even for small businesses or individual, which is crazy right now, that you can do almost the same thing that enterprises do.
Oh yeah,
using
that's
the online
beauty of our technology, right? It's just made it easier for everyone to play.
Yeah.
So you can all play, and so I guess I don't know if we've completed the answer for how to start a small business, but I think we're more focusing on the fact that you have to be clear on when you're selling and when you're building community. Like you don't muddle the two, because if you do that, then it's just not going to work.
Right. So that's why I said that you start with building an audience, building a community, making yourself known by providing value. Then you ask, eventually, once you have that 1,000 raving fans, you ask, how can I be at service? And that's when you sell.
Right. And if you're like, how do I make money in the meantime until I get there? Then
go find a job.
Go find a job, or potentially like, you could do any other side gig that makes the money easier. That can be like flipping product of some sort, right? Like that could supply you the income. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that you are not entitled to anyone's sale online. Like, who are you to think that people are going to just magically want to come and buy from you? There's
You
8
have to
billion
provide
people.
value first.
Right. So I think that's what a lot of people get twisted, and it's just because it's a long-term effect. It doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah, I think it comes to with the mindset too. Like, you have to know what you're getting yourself in. Like, building a business, it's not how it looks like on Instagram where you have Ferrari and take pictures. Like, it's not the business.
Yes,
like,
for
it's
sure.
not true.
You gotta.
We're all not millionaires either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are not like Ty Lopez who like, oh, I'm in my garage with you know, like
let's
all
move
my
on from that guy. Anyway.
yeah, but so it's not. So you have to have a mindset of being clear what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
And yeah, and do diligent and do the work to get to the point. Do the work.
Do the work. All right.
I do have a second question from Kevin who asked, how do I build following organically on Instagram?
It's trash. I'm kidding.
If you guys have intake on that.
I think right now the best thing you can do is use Instagram as like a website. Build your content on there, but don't necessarily expect that to be like top of the funnel. It's better for you to go, I think Nate would agree, he's shaking his head about maybe going to Clubhouse and then linking your Instagram there so people will go from Clubhouse to Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. Like, I've gotten like several people from TikTok coming over to Instagram because they're just curious, right?
Yep.
Instagram organic reach is pretty shit right now, so it's very hard to necessarily
Besides
grow.
Reels.
Besides Reels,
Reels.
for sure. You know, but the Reels has kind of been a hit or miss for me. But definitely I would say that's probably a good part. IGTV is definitely a more prominent feature. And then the good thing about stories obviously is that you get direct insights as to who's looking. And then you can DM those people or direct message and say like, hey, I saw you liked my content. Like, and maybe if they're not a follower, you've built a seed for them to potentially come and follow you.
Yeah, what is your take?
On top of the stories though, thing is like you can ask directly your audience who they are. And
Survey,
like,
yeah. Polling.
And then be like, hey, what kind of question do you want answered?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then you basically go and you get that frequently asked question. I got it 6 times. Okay, now I'm gonna take that and now I'm gonna make that into an actual content, make it into a carousel post, maybe I make it into an IG reel. And you know, these people, then you're gonna start to build this fan base, or as Pat Flynn says, super fan, because you're tailoring this to them and they feel like, oh my God, this is for me.
Like, how do they know me?
How do they know?
How
right?
do they know what I want?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, if you want to build the organic following on Instagram, you need to ask yourself the question first, like, do you want to build it so that you eventually can convert them to the paying clients, or you just want to build it so that you can have a big following? Because it's the very different tactics for each of them, right? So if you want to just build like the number of following be more, there's a lot of paying groups where you can
get fake followers all day. But
you
what
can
are you gonna
buy
do with that? This is gonna make you feel good for half a second.
Some people do. So I mean, the question was just more about how do I build it, right? So
yeah, if you want to fake people to think that you have a lot going on, that's not hard to do. But if you're actually trying to make something out of it, that's gonna require real work that you just can't cheat. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, is like there's these people with 100,000 followers, right? But they don't know how to sell those people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's plenty of people out there that have so many followers and can't sell.
And there's this guy with 1,000 followers, and this guy's crushing it. You just
right, but that's why I brought it back to the main question, like, what is your intention?
Yes.
Maybe the one that
Clear
has
intention.
100,000 followers, that's all he wanted. You know?
Yeah.
So get clear with your intention and use the strategies. I will make it very simple. Organic ways of growing in any social media platform is to use their newest feature that they coming out with.
There you go.
So the newest one for Instagram is Reels, but then the one that is newer is Remix. So now if you have to learn how to do Reels and publish it, get the organic reach, and then try to do Remix with the one that are already popular.
I'll leave you guys all with this. This is the last part about this question. There's a feature on Instagram called like articles which has been very underutilized, I would say, as of right now. What you can do is you can group a bunch of your posts.
Oh, you mean
and
guides?
write a whole lot guides. Sorry, they're basically articles, right? Because they're trying to become more of like a publishing company, right? So like you can take like 7 of your best posts, put them into an article or a guide, and then add additional context. Like I've been thinking about doing this. I have a draft right now. I took like a bunch of my bodybuilding posts, and I'm going to add context around like what was going on during those times, and that'll be like a guide to losing weight, and like shows pictures. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but most importantly, the idea is that whatever
New
social
features.
media platform
Yeah.
you're on, use their newest features because they work on it, so they want to push it.
They're
So they're gonna
incentivizing
Yeah,
it, for
they're gonna
sure.
push it in front of
encourage
you.
you
Yeah.
to be on it. So that's to
Let's
that.
go to the next. If we have, do we have another question, or should we go to the next section
no,
of our conversation?
next section I wanted to
Entrepreneur.
maybe. Well, that was most of it for entrepreneurs in business.
I thought you had the specific question for entrepreneurship. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just like that, and like how to build online business. I have many ideas, but I don't know how to start. I'm tired.
Start all of them. Like seriously, start them all, and then you'll find the one that you actually want to do, because probably 99% of them you probably don't want to do.
Trash.
Fail forward.
Yes, that's a good way to say
And
that.
I would say too, as the entrepreneur, someone who has been a full-time entrepreneur for a year and a half now, just fail forward and fail fast. Like test it out.
Nate too. I mean,
Yeah, so like just test it out fast, so then you get it out of your system, so that you can move on to next one. Like don't stay so attached to that idea that this is my baby, I need to make it happen. Like no, if it's
And-
shit, it doesn't need to happen. So
Yeah.
nobody's gonna buy.
Yeah.
stay in your lane. Like I don't preach myself as an entrepreneur. I'm a good sales guy. I'm very good with people, but I don't have a passion for entrepreneurship necessarily. Like I like to stay in my lane. So that's
That's
the other
true
part.
too.
Is like when you try many things, you're gonna realize like I don't want to deal with accounting and finance and taxes of my business.
But that's
know what I
where
mean?
Yeah.
that's where importance of failing forward is.
Yeah.
It's you try many things, you test out many things, you learn. Probably out of 100 things that you always wanted to do, you hate 99, and that one thing that you actually enjoy, that probably something that you want to
Yeah.
continue. So that's
And-
just a process.
And don't serve everyone, right? Because if you try to serve everyone, you really serve no one.
I've
Mm.
learned that the hard way. I think
Yeah.
Nate, what you just said, I've only really started to discover because one of the challenges for me was like I don't want to put myself in a box, but it's like but talk about the principles of your message and find specific groups of audiences to then talk about your message, right? Like that's what I learned with the TikTok stuff. It's like if I say ask me a question about meditation, and then I'm still speaking from my soul about what I think, but now it's just from meditation, and I can say that ask me a question about losing weight. It's the same thing, but now I think that's what you mean, right? By like picking an audience is like actually be like, who are you with this piece of content? Who do you expect to see this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's one of the hardest things. I think it took me so freaking long to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Well, I'm still in it, but yes, thank you. Appreciate it. I haven't figured it all out, but
Yeah. So
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to transfer now, like move on to the subject of podcasting, because we do want to discuss one piece of latest news about podcasting, and I want to get an update on your podcasting. What's going on with your podcasting? How's it going?
But fun fact,
Yes.
podcasting actually came about from iPod and broadcasting. That's
Yep.
how the word podcasting came about.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I did.
most people don't know that. And Apple was the pioneer in podcasting. But they
Yep.
took a back seat, allowing Spotify to come in and destroy the shit out of them.
And they now taking it back
That's right.
with the latest news.
We'll
Kinda,
see.
Kinda.
We'll see.
I don't buy it.
I was like, I don't know.
Nate's like, I'm skeptical. No.
Yeah.
We have to share what is the
Yeah,
latest
so the
news. We haven't
news,
talked
Nate, do you
about.
want to share what the latest news is?
So basically, the latest news is Apple is implementing a paid subscription.
That's right.
So they're basically installing like a Patreon, but like and now also what it is you pay, I think $240 for the year
$240.
to get access to this. Yes.
Wow, that's
And
steep.
and then there's a kicker in there, right?
Okay.
So whatever you make for that year, they keep, and it's in their contract. I'm pretty sure if someone's out there like quoting me, then quote me, whatever. 30% of it goes back to them.
Yeah, I believe for the first year is 30%, and then I think the second year it like goes down to 10 or 15%
Yep.
residual. Quite
I
interesting.
mean, interesting proposition.
So
Why would they do that?
I see that a lot of like our type of demographic of podcasters, I don't think are going to jump on this feature. I do see a lot of potential of like celebrity style shows coming on and being like a paid premium type of thing where they're like having like high quality production value from like the top of the line, you know, talent and celebs. I think that's the way I see this going for the short term.
Yeah, definitely. You know, if anything, I might try it just because if I get questions about it, I need to know.
Oh, 100% taste it. Yeah.
How to answer it.
Right.
But am I gonna like stay there? Probably not, just because of right now. Like, honestly, guys, it's such a headache with Apple. Like it's insane.
Yeah. Any other like notable pain points with Apple have you been feeling?
It's basically the RSS feeds aren't showing up. So then you go to your Apple, your regular podcast, and then you go to their feed, and then it's not even popping up because Apple is not whatever Apple did. Okay, this is what my thought process is. I haven't really looked it up, but if you had a podcast during 6 years ago, you're marked phase 3, right? If you did one 3 years ago, you're marked phase 2. If you're this year, you're marked phase 1.
Okay.
And so I think what they're doing is they're integrating. I don't get why they didn't do this like right off the bat, but I think they're integrating one at a time. So if you had your podcast out this year, your podcast is not affected by this glitch that's happening.
Interesting. I didn't even know about this glitch.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating.
It's basically destroying downloads, it's destroying subscribes because people that are constantly listening to these podcasts aren't getting it. They don't know why. So if you're a creator and you don't even know that this is happening, you're like
you're
SOL.
publishing and nobody and your audience is like
I
meanwhile
have
not
noticed,
getting the pull.
I only have noticed that it has been delayed push with Apple
I mean, that's
Podcasts.
what he's saying. I don't think it's not like it's not like it will never get there. It's just like, let's say you launched it today, it might not get to the Apple.
So we have definitely been
tomorrow or the next
we
day.
have definitely been affected by it.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
now
didn't
that
know
you mentioned
why.
it makes sense because I had launched a couple of episodes. I'm like, why is this not showing up yet? And I'm like, well,
it doesn't push the notification, and then you don't see it unless you like go out and refresh the page. And like sometimes I have to unsubscribe and subscribe back to my own podcast so then I can see the newest feed.
I have a question then. So would you guys think it's better than to spend the time and energy if you're building a podcast to then have your own sort of, you know, because you could take your own RSS feed and create like an aggregator on a web page.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you think that's a must or what do you think as of now?
I think maybe in the future that's the thing. I think right now it's just so much easier to have these hosting sites and
for sure
just distribute it, because if you're a new podcaster, you're not gonna want to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Jumping through the hoops.
Yeah, not for a new one, but let's say I think I would maybe cap that advice to say if your show is getting to a sustainable place, you have consistent downloads and stuff, it's probably worthwhile to get a website and put your own RSS feed, so you're not depending on Apple, Spotify, Google, none of these guys to publish you.
Well, I would even say don't rely on, if you like really building out on the show, you probably should own your hosting because they can take away your RSS feed anytime.
That's true. I haven't heard of too much of that happening, but that's possible. Oh no, we did talk about this in one of our Fireside chats. One of the people we were talking about got blocked or something, right?
Yep.
I forget who, but yes.
It was something about the election and then something about coronavirus, where basically what was happening was, I think it was Spotify. If you're talking about the coronavirus when it was first starting, basically you got that episode deleted. If it was but the only way they knew is if you had it in your title or in your show notes.
Yeah, they probably use AI to kind of capture
what
it.
I'm fascinated by is how we haven't gotten to a place yet where I think podcasts are really going to be valuable is once we start parsing the audio for contextual like transcriptions and finding context as to what the conversations are about. Like AI is going to get there, you know, fast enough. There's already stuff out there, but like imagine that, like imagine 1 hour episode, and now you have like your episode is getting put into different places based on the context, not just the copy, right? The copy is cool and it's like kind of like the human touch, but there's so much more that can be automated on that part that I think so you know, I only brought that up because I still see so much more potential in this space, especially like thinking about how we're going towards an audio first world, you know, using your phone to do query searching and ordering food and ordering Amazon. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge. Like, you're gonna ask Google one day and be like, hey, what is the best place to get this? And then all of a sudden a little excerpt from a podcast in the exact timestamp pops up where the guy's talking about exactly
for sure
that.
It will be happening
Like,
too.
that's where I'm after, you know.
I think that is going to be coming down the future, because I can already tell I don't want to even say the name, my Alexa, and probably she'll turn on, right? Right?
Don't say Siri, she'll talk to you.
Right? But so like I can say that, and then say like, you know, go to play healthcare hacks and connections.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're listening to this and I say this loud enough, your Echo, whatever's out there, is gonna play my podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
It's already getting there, and I'm actually super excited about it. The only part that I'm a little bump is that there's so many of these regulation now. Like, they start seeing that podcasting is growing, and they're like putting all of this like restraint, you know, thing, or like
everything, nothing good lasts forever. Everything's gonna get that way, but
because
it's still not so bad. I think podcasting still is very raw. Like,
and
it's
I love
it's so young. Yeah,
and I love that you can break rules in podcasting. Like, you can have 1 minute podcast, you can have 30-minute podcast, you can have, you know.
And that's where I'm experimenting next. Is I'm gonna start doing like 1 minute podcast episodes.
Yeah.
Why not? You know. So,
do it.
Hell yeah. I'm doing it.
Yeah, so give us some update about your podcast and maybe any last thoughts that you might have.
Yeah, my podcast is doing really well. We have about 98 subscriptions last I checked.
Awesome.
That's awesome. You just launched like 2 weeks ago?
No. Yeah. Not like a month ago. Like a month ago.
I mean, you were recording for a while and then you launched.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So we have that, and then we're down. We have 1,500 downloads at this point too. So we're doing pretty good.
Yay! Awesome. Oh man, I'm so happy for you, Nate.
So what do you? Curious from the podcast, like, what do you do to nurture your audience except like social media posting and hype posts? Do you do anything special, or is that in the notes?
I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to establish like an email marketing, but no one's really opted in yet.
I see.
So, and then I created a Facebook group. But now it's only really just my guests that are in there.
Yeah.
But slowly I feel like, you know, the audience will.
The guests and the people that follow the guests will populate the Facebook group, will download the episode.
Awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let me ask you this, to get to, for someone listening who's just wanting to start their podcast, and what have you found in this short frame of time to get to even, you know, almost 100 subscribers and almost 2,000 downloads in just a few weeks? Like, what has been, let's say, most effective like play to get downloads or you know, viewership, or what would you say has been like the one thing?
Asking your audience what they want.
Got it.
Right?
So when you publish, they're just like, dude, like, this is what I wanted.
Well, yeah, because I asked them like, hey guys, like, I'm gonna be bringing on guests here soon. The next round of guests. Who do you want to hear from? And then they were like, well, okay, I want to hear from Greg Todd. And I'm like, all right, gonna reach out to Greg. Or what I do is I publish that in the story, and I'm like, Greg, looks like my audience wants to hear from you.
Yes.
Do you want to come on?
That's awesome.
And then he responds. He's like, yeah, man, I'm down. Just let me know, like Calendly link.
Just to like kind of dumb this down for those that maybe didn't follow this. The strategy here is, it's not about how big you already are. It's about showing the perception that you got now interested audience to listen from a person, and that could be like 5 people, right? It doesn't have to be 500,000 people that were interested. And then you're like, look, dude, I got curated people that want to hear from you. I'd love to have you on my podcast. It's kind of like that sort of coy sales marketing pitch. You're not lying to anybody, but you're also trying to use all the tools to your advantage to get like somebody on, right? Nate, what do you say? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? You're just calling your shot. Like, dude, he could say no. he could say no, and I'd just be like, all right,
On to the next one.
on to the next one, right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes.
Well, if you are interested and curious to know more about podcasting, and just listen to Nate's podcast and follow his journey.
Nate, tell
make
the
sure-
podcast name before you go.
Yeah.
The Healthcare Hacks and Connections podcast.
Check it out, everybody. The podcast doc is in the house. And if you
Share
need
your
help
podcast.
with, let me finish plugging Nate first. If you need help at all editing your podcast, this guy kicks it like down the line so good. I haven't seen anybody do it so well. And he's definitely an industry professional.
Yeah, we are podcasters supporting podcasters.
Hell
here.
yeah. And, you know, my podcast, you can find it everywhere. It's the Real Abhinav Audio Experience. It's basically just a library of content that I'm creating. It's got, you know, interviews. It's going to have live
The
stuff.
new episode coming out tomorrow.
There's a new episode coming out tomorrow and every week from here on out. And we're going to be doing some cool stuff, like I was saying, like shorter conversations and just value pieces that you can like hit on the fly. That's kind of the next thing I'm getting into. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for watching the Fireside with me. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to message me. And we all want to know, what is the one insight or lesson that you have taken out from this conversation? Feel free to comment below or send me the direct message.
Yes.
Or connect with each of us on social media platform. We are present online on most
All of
platform.
our handles are here, and there it is. There,
There
you got it.
it.
Yep. Get our handles are here. Hit us up on any platform that you're on, and send us any questions that you have.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Big
thank you
smiles and
so
a wave
much.
bye to everyone. Thank you so much. We'll